This is Adrian Hart with your Southeast Colorado News on seconews.org. We're here with Tracy's Trek as you trek across America down Highway 50. What was the quote you just said? It's America's...
They call it the loneliest road in America.
The loneliest road in America.
And after going through Nevada and Utah and parts of Colorado here, I can tell you that's definitely no lie.
And you're running the whole time. This is day 51. You're 51 days of marathons in a row.
It's a full marathon, 26.2 miles each day for 120 days in a row. And that'll take me across the country to Ocean City, Maryland, which is where I'll finish on or around December 20th.
So do you have time to check your social media while you're running?
I do a little bit of that. Mostly the guys who are, on the bus with me, the crew I've got, they're doing most of the social media posting. And, I try to comment back and, get back with people as much as possible, just, to keep people, engaged with what we're doing. But, so
it seems like running is one of those activities where you're too busy with the cardio to mess with that.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really, to me, there's an irony in you're doing this extreme trek across the loneliest road in America, and that's very much the opposite of social media's purpose and the way it feeds the audience.
Yeah.
And it becomes this addiction to the blue light, to the engagement, positive and negative too. And so really this awareness, you said you've done multiple interviews and you've got life experience with this subject.
Yeah.
Tell us about your cause.
Yeah, so the whole goal is to keep kids safe online. So I've been speaking at schools and organizations around the country for the last 6 years. I've spoken in over 40 states, hundreds of thousands of kids and parents. And, it started out, I worked in politics actually as a young guy.
Really?
Yeah, this is really an interesting story, kind of how I got into this. But I worked for a former governor in the state of Illinois.
Okay.
Got fired on my first day as his personal assistant, basically. So traveling with him.
I've had it happen to me. I've lost a job on the first day.
Yeah.
But that's got to be traumatic.
That was me too. And the reason was because of some inappropriate posts that I'd made on my Twitter account from when I was a teenager. And so I had thousands of posts on there. They went back, they found a few that were fully inappropriate. And anyway, screenshotted them, created these fake accounts, posted them online. It ended up being, front page news in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And I'm 22 years old when this is happening. I'm in the car with the governor. Right. I mean, he's closer to me than what you and I are.
You saw that reaction.
Yes. And so I thought, well, surely, I saw other people posting similar things. So I started going to colleges and then, to high school, college athletic departments first is what I started with. And then to some high schools, sharing the story about, don't post something inappropriate that could cost you a job or opportunity. Right. What you may think is a joke, someone else may not see it that way, and that could cost you, even years down the road,
right.
as it did.
Career devastating.
Totally.
Just for a couple keystrokes.
Totally. And then I started going to these schools in 2018, and these kids are literally showing me their iPhone. And they're saying, I understand what you're saying about the, the jobs and career, but there's this grown man sending me inappropriate pictures on here. I've been cyberbullied so much. The girls especially, I feel the more time I spend on this app, Instagram, which was the popular one at the time, the worse I feel about myself. I think my body image issues are related to the amount of time and the content that I'm consuming on this app. And then I started hearing more and more of these stories, and it's like, why is no one talking about this, right? And so I spent the last 6 years trying to do that, trying to talk about it, trying to get that message out. And, the stories get worse and worse, it seems like, and the kids get phones at a younger and younger age and access to social media.
I noticed one of the clips you've got on the top of your social right now is talking about the smartphone is an adult tool.
Yeah.
Why would you give it to a child unsupervised?
That's right.
And it strikes home in every household.
And it's a hard spot as a parent, right? Because if you're that parent, and, you said you have a daughter who's in high school.
Yeah, so my teenagers, they were not allowed to have smartphones or phones, period, until they were in high school.
Yeah, smart.
But still, at 15, 16 years old, it's still, they need guidance and supervision and help in not tripping up and stumbling on that. And they need to realize it's on the internet. You should really look at it like it's there permanently.
Right.
Because copies are being made.
Right.
And if it's removed, copies were made.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, my content is instantly stolen by other media outlets. It happens just like that, as soon as it uploads.
Right.
And the ferocity and the risk associated with social media is so intense.
Right.
When you apply for a job, that's the first thing they look at.
Yeah.
Are you going to pass that social media test?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what I started out at. That was my whole message. And then I started hearing this other stuff, these other stories of the predators.
You looked it in the face.
And it's like, my God, there's way worse stuff actually than getting fired from a job.
Absolutely.
Getting your picture. You know, it seemed like at the time the biggest thing in the world to me, because I was like, how do I get, what is my next job after this, right?
Yeah.
But then I hear these kids' stories, it's like, my gosh, this stuff is happening to kids that are, you know, this tall.
But really,
right?
what you're
So
talking
young.
about really is reputation.
Yep.
And that does begin when you're a kid.
Yep.
It actually begins before you're a kid, because your parents have established reputation in the community.
Yep. Well, and
Right.
even the social media link to that is, you know, these parents are posting when their kid is born, where they go to school,
Yeah.
sometimes their home address in the
Right.
background. And you, a dangerous person, someone with bad intentions, can find out a lot of information about a child based on many times their parents' social media presence.
Exactly. That data mining, looking across multiple accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real scary world out there, especially when you put the lens in everybody's pocket, and the strength of social media it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we're in the least populated part of Colorado, and we have a little baby media outlet, and we reach thousands of people in an hour.
Right.
And when you get that word out like that, and once it starts spreading through the community, they're sharing screenshots of the original post, and next thing you know, it's like the police. I work with local law enforcement, and they oftentimes talk about how the social media will get the information out prior to them knowing.
Well, it's a weapon and a tool at the same time, right? And in a lot of ways, right, you couldn't do what you do as successfully as you do it if not for the power of social media.
Right.
But it's this double-edged sword for all of us, even as adults, right?
Right.
And that's what I tell parents is like, look, it is a risk-reward analysis that you have to make for your own family, right? Because if your daughter's 17 years old and she doesn't have a smartphone, or she doesn't have Snapchat, and all of her friends are on that app, then
that's
she is
socially
missing out on-
devastating.
There
Exactly.
are things she's missing
And
out
it's
on.
not just the fear of missing out, it's the actual ostracization from that community.
Totally.
It's from the peer group. If the peer group turns their back on you, and if you don't have a chance to be in the circle provided by that social platform, like, it's crazy to me. When I saw Homecoming this last year, they TP the houses for the teachers, right? Well, to see the kids able to track whose house is being TP'd right now so they can go catch up with their friends,
Right.
that is wild.
Through location sharing on
On
social,
Snapchat.
yep.
And you know how many kids are doing that? Just about all of them.
Right. Well, the scary part is when that kid accepts anybody as their friend on Snapchat and they have that location sharing on, and it's not the group of friends
Right.
going to TP somebody's house. It's somebody they don't know that knows where they are at all times in
Right.
real time. You click on that picture on, they call it the Snap Map. It will give driving and walking directions to exactly where that child is, you know, in real time, and that can create some dangerous scenarios.
Definitely real world problems. And you're advocating that parents take active steps in helping their children navigate these dangers.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the tips you've got.
Well, I think the main thing is open communication with these kids. I think what kids need to hear from the trusted adults in their lives is, you can come to us with anything that happens, no matter how awkward or uncomfortable it is, right? It is hard for a kid to go to their parent and say that they've been bullied, or they've had their nude photo passed around, or, you know, whatever it is, right? And so that's really tough. So just making sure that that door is always open. I recommend that parents wait as long as they can to actually get their kid a smartphone or social media. You know, there are more options coming out, it seems like every month, that, you know, watches and starter phones and things like that. You know, keeping the phones out of the bedroom at night. A lot of these issues come to me, and I ask these families, when did this happen? About 70% of the time, it's after the parents have gone to bed. That's when the kid is most vulnerable, is in their room, doors closed, parents are asleep, and they have a smartphone with social media on it.
Right. So put the phones on the charger in the kitchen.
Keep them in a
power
place,
them down.
Yep.
That's the way to go.
Yep. Keep them in a place where the kids won't have access to them. And, you know, and be a good example.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just like anything else. The kids are going to emulate the behavior that they see from the adults in their lives. And it's like, especially the cyberbullying and the kids just being unkind to one another. It's like, why are we surprised when the kids do the same things?
When they emulate mom and dad's
They've
behavior,
seen
that's what's
athletes, celebrities, politicians, and many of them their parents. We got sponsors, but, you know, and I'm speaking at schools along the way and organizations, but certainly spending some of my own money doing it too. But it's, you know, it's something I wanted to do, and I want to get that message out. You know, I want to get the message out, something that I wanted to do on a professional and personal level. And so, yeah, I mean, it's
any business owner is going to make that financial investment in yourself.
Right.
And I mean, you're doing it to the point that it's living in a camper, 51 days running.
Yeah.
How many more days where's your halfway point?
So my halfway is Dodge City, Kansas.
Okay.
Is exactly 60 days in. So whatever, 9 days.
You're 9 days away from the halfway
being
point.
halfway. Yeah.
Okay.
And I cleared the Rockies. I cleared the desert in Nevada and Utah. So, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, it's like I've been saying all along, if I can get to the Midwest and it's cool, I'll be feeling pretty good about my chances to make it. You know, then I gotta cross the Appalachians, obviously, but you know, they're 5,000 feet starting at sea level, whereas out here it's, you know, I passed 11,500 or 12,000 somewhere, but I was already at 8,000.
You're still at 4,000 feet
right now, right?
Yeah, you still have quite a ways going east. Your elevation is going to drop.
Yeah, exactly.
The map. Let's talk about the map for a second.
Yep.
The folks who've signed this map,
yep.
They're just the random people you've met?
These are people that we've met along the way that, you know, they either pulled up behind us or they saw us at a gas station or restaurant or whatever, and they've kind of asked what we're doing, and, you know, we give them a little bit of information, and then we just encourage them to sign the bus. So that's here. And then on the back, I have the names of 11 young people who have died from social media harms. Oh. And I'm interviewing those parents along the way. So those families, they sign next to their child's name. So we have some signatures on the back too, but it's the parents and immediate family of those kids who are no longer with us.
So if folks want to reach out to you, either to have a media engagement like this for the cause, or if, you know, they're on the other side of that and they've lost a loved one to the harms of social media, how do they do that?
TracyTrek.com, TracyTrek.com. Ben J. Tracy on Instagram. We have a Facebook and YouTube. Instagram is definitely the most, you know,
if that's your
updated
medium that you're using the most?
It's the most frequently up, the kind of the day-to-day of what's going on. And it's a little ironic, right, of using social media to promote social media safety and awareness. And
well, but if that's your connection with the user, and you know that's the platform they're using that can do harm,
right?
It makes total sense.
And I hope
to me.
somebody sees it and they're like, oh, this guy's running across the country. I'm going to put my phone down and go walk the dog or run a mile or 5K or whatever. So that's part of it. And the other part is with the actual online safety message. You know, it's mostly I'm trying to reach parents.
Right.
You know, and so I had a kid come up to me at one of my talks. You know, I've done these live talks all over the country, and this kid comes up and was like, I really hope that. I wish my mom could have this information about being, you know, how to keep me safe. And I said, you know, she can. There's a parent presentation. It's at 6 o'clock tonight, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And kid's like, my mom can't come. You know, she has to make dinner, and who would watch me, whatever. And then I realized I have to.
You have to
bring this message in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the parent that I need to reach the most, is that parent who doesn't have the time to come to my talk in person, who's handed her child an iPhone or an iPad. You know, it is a good babysitter, right? And like, those are the kids who are probably the most vulnerable. So that's why I've decided to do do social media myself, because for 5 years I would do very, very little of it. I didn't want to on a personal level, and I did think it was a little hypocritical.
Yeah.
And so that's all changing, obviously, with this endeavor.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Tracy, for me, this interview has been, like, our off-camera stuff has been really good.
Yeah, thank you.
And I feel I've shared a lot about my company, and I was social media resilient until 5 years ago when I started Seco News. Like, I applied for a job and they said, Adrian, you passed our Facebook test, and almost no one does that. And I'm like, what could you have found on Facebook when you searched for me? And they said, little kids' birthday parties. And we have some questions about that. And I'm like, well, what are your questions? Well, when we searched for you, all we found were little kids' birthday parties, and you weren't in any of the pictures. Well, it's because I was the one who took the pictures, and the moms tagged me.
Right.
And so
that was your only presence online.
That was my only presence online 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, people don't get fired for not posting on the internet. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
people only get fired for actually posting
on
like I did. That's why I got into this in the first place. So
yeah. And so I certainly relate to that reluctance to use the medium that you see is causing so much damage. Right? And so thank you for sharing a message that the medium can be used for good.
Area right now?
Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah.
I see, here's our line.
Yeah, it's kind of the line. It's
Yeah, okay. So we're like, this is the trail?
This is 50. Yeah, we're
right here.
50's our route.
Okay, cool. You got me? Beautiful.